Hi, Facebook. I just ended up facilitating a session where what we had to do was to access some really, really deep down grief that was just really hard to get to. It was something that was just not able to be accessed very easily and for good reason. Like, grief is probably one of the harder emotions to be with, but it's one of those things that until we move all the way through a grief process, that part of us is still attached to that and not actually fully grieving and letting go of what it is that needed to be grieved, right? So in this instance, what the client needed to grieve was actually an old version of who he was before coming conscious. So, what needed to be grieved was what his life was like prior to having a spiritual awakening and what it used to be like versus where it is now. And that was just something that was really difficult to access. So, in the middle of this session, it was like something just channeled down from the divine and gave me an idea. So what we ended up doing was this visualization that came to me to try to access this grief, this unhealed wound within him. And what that ended up being was this visualization where I took him into a graveyard. And from that point, I guided him down a specific path that would lead him to one very specific grave upon which there's actually a gathering of people around, right? So when he approached this gathering of people, I had him see if he recognized who any of them were, and he did. And what I had him do was to actually look and see what it was this group of people was gathered around. And what it was a casket. And what I had him realize was what was in this casket was exactly what he wanted to grieve, which was this old version of who he was. And what I had him do as the current version of who he was, looking at his old version in the casket, I had him give a eulogy for that part of him. And also have other people, which he recognized as like loved ones in his life, also walk up and say final words to this aspect. And it was so powerful. It was amazing, like what kind of reactions that gave rise to. And I was just like, whoa, where did this come from? It was just this random idea I had to like, well, if we need to grieve something, then let's just pretend it's already dead and let's just write a eulogy for it and speak it in front of people, right? So that's what that visualization was essentially for. And it was just wildly profound and so interesting to witness. And then what essentially happens afterwards is you actually, like, what's happening is this casket is open still and there's like the hole in the ground. So what you do is you actually get to bury and lay to rest what it is that you've grieved through in that moment. And let me tell you, it's a way to get yourself there. I feel like grief is one of those things that our subconscious mind will play so many games with us to keep us out of, to keep us away from. And for good reasons. Those are really deep, dark places that are painful that we've learned, are not okay to be with. And when we were a child, we had no way to find resolution with that. We had no idea what was happening to us. And I mean, a lot of times this stuff stems from childhood, by the way. So, of course, we had to either dissociate in those moments or develop these defense mechanisms to keep us safe from accessing that pain. So what this does is it actually allows you to be present to the fact that this part of you or whomever it is or whatever it is or wherever it is that you're grieving actually puts it into perspective as to what's happening and allows you to actually feel it within you and to actually like witness these people, not only yourself, but also these other people coming and speaking and saying these things. Like, it was amazing. Like, first of all, who his subconscious mind chose to be at that gathering. And then the things that those parts, those aspects had to say. So I'm definitely going to be sharing this around, the completion process groups and the shadow work groups. But yeah, this was just something that just happened all of a sudden. I was not planning on doing any of this tonight at all. But lo and behold, it did. And then this new idea got to be born as a result. So I wanted to make sure that, more people knew that this option existed. And if you've kind of either found yourself or any loved ones or people that you work with kind of stuck in a grief process, that perhaps maybe a visualization of actually watching it being grieved and having those final words being said and then actually watching it be put to rest can be pretty powerful. So I wanted to share that with you all and hope this may find you well. Let me know if you have any questions or anything. I'm definitely seeing some comments coming in that I haven't actually checked. Jeffrey left me a heart. Thank you, Jeffrey. Elizabeth said, that's really good, Matthew. I think I need to try it. Definitely give it a try. Let me know how it works. So I know that's like a really tricky one to really bring up within people if it's not already coming up naturally. And you know that that's what's basically the block that's keeping them from moving forward towards the things that they want. So I'm definitely going to try this again as well in the future and see how it goes. But while this was fresh in my mind, because it literally just happened and finished like 5 minutes ago, I was like, I just have to put this out into the world. Elizabeth Rose says hi, hello. Hi, Nicole. Powerful words. Yeah, thank you. It was a powerful experience for sure. But so beautiful to witness, and I just feel really grateful to have been a part of that and to have witnessed the types of reactions that were there. And it just really puts a lot into perspective for me even too to have witnessed that. Paul says it came from the divine. I absolutely believe that, because when it popped into my head, it was just like instantaneous, like a download where I just had the awareness and the knowledge and the like push to do this, and it came literally out of nowhere, and I put it into action like in that moment that it came to me, and it was exactly what needed to happen. So it was beautiful. Elizabeth said, yeah, I felt into my body that I'm like a constant grief process. Yeah. And grief also is one of those things where it's extra hard to be with, because it tends to take a lot of time and compassion and presence to fully move through. So I think something like this can really help to either move through like the final stages, or at least through a big chunk of it, and kind of take you at least into it where it's maybe before really hard to access. So yeah, I'm going to definitely refine it and play with this process and use it for anybody else that might, really benefit from it. But I wanted to make sure that other people, also had that option available. Elizabeth says a lot of dissociation. Yeah, that's what was happening initially when we were trying to experience the emotion in the body and just trying to really feel into the situations in the current moment that were leading up to this grief. And there was a lot of dissociation taking place. So this was my way of trying to find like a backdoor entrance, so to speak, to those emotions. And just that visualization really makes you more focused again, and it really places your mind on something, and it keeps you in that moment, especially when you're like really noticing and having them pay attention to all the details around what they're actually seeing leading up to the moment where you surprise them with the group and the eulogy and the burying at the end. So it helped to kind of dispel that dissociation, which was really cool to see. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there, get that off my chest while it was just fresh on my mind. And thank you for watching. Thank you so much for watching. So this is going to be available as a replay. I'm just going to share this around into a few groups, but thank you for joining me live while I'm talking about it right now. And I will talk to you all soon. Thank you. Oh shoot, this is the embarrassing part where like my live videos like never want me to end them. Like